I'm Oliver Whitman. I'm 74 years old. Some of you might remember me from a few weeks back, but today I need to share something more personal, something that changed the way I see life, love, and relationships entirely. And I need you to hear this, because what I'm about to tell you could save you from a pain that lingers for decades. My wife Margaret and I were married for 43 years. 43 years, longer than some of you have been alive. For most of that time, I thought we had a good marriage, not perfect, no, but good, solid, comfortable, the kind of marriage people stay in. But here's the hard truth no one tells you about long marriages. You can spend decades with someone and still not truly know them. You can share a home, a bed, a life, and still remain strangers in the ways that matter most. Margaret died 6 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. Diagnosed in March, gone by July, 4 months from vibrant and lively to gone. And in those final weeks, lying in her hospice bed, she said something to me that echoes in my mind every single day. She said, "Oliver, we wasted so much time being right instead of being close." I didn't understand it at first. I was defensive. We had a good marriage, didn't we? I asked myself. We rarely fought. We were comfortable together. We had built a life. But that, I realized painfully, was exactly the problem. We were comfortable. Comfortable isn't the same as connected. Margaret had a way of suggesting small things over the years. Let's take a pottery class together. Why don't we go dancing again? Remember when we stayed up talking for hours? And I always had a reason not to. Too tired, too busy, too expensive, too impractical. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I genuinely believed we had time. I thought those little moments didn't matter. I believed the big things, being faithful, providing, keeping promises, were enough. They weren't. Love isn't built on the grand gestures alone. Yes, those matter. Being there through a crisis, supporting, being reliable, these things are important. But the real foundation of love lies in the quiet, unremarkable moments. In the walks you take together with no destination. In the breakfasts where you listen, really listen, when your partner tells you about their day. I stopped noticing, slowly, almost imperceptibly. One missed conversation led to another. One, "I'm too tired tonight," became 1,000. One, "We'll do that later," became never. Margaret, being who she was, adapted. She stopped asking me to dance. She stopped suggesting new activities. She stopped trying to reconnect with me in those quiet, meaningful ways. She built her own life, friends, hobbies, small joys she carried quietly, and I kept thinking it was normal, that long marriages are supposed to settle into routine, that passion naturally fades. But that wasn't passion fading, that was neglect, and I didn't see it until it was too late. When Margaret got sick, everything changed. Suddenly we had a timeline. Suddenly, the moments I thought we'd have someday were now urgently fleeting. In those months, we talked more openly than we had in 20 years. She told me her hidden dreams, the hurts she had silently carried, the times she felt invisible. 3 weeks before she passed, she mentioned something that pierced my heart. She spoke of a trip to Scotland she had always dreamed of taking, her grandmother's homeland, the rolling highlands, the quiet villages, the cobblestone streets she longed to walk. She had mentioned it over the years, and each time I had dismissed it. Too expensive, not the right time, maybe someday, and that someday never came. She wasn't angry when she spoke of it. She was quiet, resigned. A sadness had settled in her eyes that I had allowed through years of inattentiveness. I asked her why she hadn't insisted, why she hadn't pushed me to go. Her answer is what shattered me completely. "I didn't want to make you do something you didn't want to do. I wanted you to want to do it with me." She didn't want obligation, she wanted desire, shared excitement, genuine care for what mattered to her, and I hadn't given her that, not even once. And that's when I realized, the biggest threat to a relationship isn't betrayal or fighting, it's indifference, taking one another for granted, stopping the effort, assuming time is infinite. After Margaret passed, I found her journal. Hidden in her nightstand, pages filled with her thoughts, written over decades. Reading it was like meeting her for the first time. She wrote of loneliness, moments I was present physically but absent emotionally. times I prioritized work or distractions over truly seeing her. And she wrote of hope, of the man she married, of believing that the version of me who loved her in the ways she needed would return. She tried, she reached, I didn't respond. We had lived as roommates who shared a bed. I was there, but I was not present. This wasn't malice, it wasn't cruelty, it was sheer neglect, complacency disguised as contentment. I believed providing, being faithful, and not doing wrong was enough. It was. Relationships don't fail because of one grand catastrophe. They fail in 1,000 tiny, almost invisible ways. A missed dance, a skipped conversation, an overlooked dream, a life built on small neglects. Ask yourself, when's the last time you had a real conversation with your partner, not logistics, not scheduling, not what's for dinner, but truly shared your dreams, fears, and hopes? When's the last time you did something just because it would make them happy, not because it was an anniversary or birthday? When's the last time you looked at them, really looked, and felt grateful for their presence in your life? If you can't remember, you're already on the same path I took. The truth is hard. One of us will always leave first. There is no do-over. Those trips postponed, those conversations delayed, they vanish forever. Margaret and I had 43 years together, and I wasted countless moments being comfortable instead of being close, choosing being right over intimacy, choosing convenience over connection, choosing my own tiredness over her joy. Love is not a feeling you leave unattended. Love is action every day. In the small, the ordinary, the mundane, the spectacular, love is curiosity, vulnerability, effort, prioritizing connection over convenience. After Margaret passed, life felt empty. The house was quiet in a way I had never known, despite all those years we'd lived together. The rooms held memories, but they were ghosts now, echoes of laughter, gentle arguments, unspoken dreams, and quiet disappointments. I moved through the house like a stranger, touching objects she had once cherished, listening to the faint creak of floorboards that used to signal her presence. I found myself revisiting our life, moment by moment. The long walks through the park, the shared cups of coffee, even the arguments over trivial matters now seemed precious in their absence. Every missed dance, every postponed trip, every maybe later, replayed in my mind like a movie I could never pause or rewind. Her journal became my window into the life I thought I had known. Pages filled with laughter, worry, hope, and silent grief. She wrote about things she had never shared, small frustrations, subtle fears, tiny ways she had tried to stay connected when I had not. There were entries about Scotland, about pottery classes, about dancing under the dim glow of living room lights, about conversations she had hoped we'd have. And in each page, her voice was clear, tender, and heartbreaking. It struck me that all those small moments I had ignored were the very things that built love. Not the grand gestures, not the milestones, but the quiet, intentional choices every day. Listening to her, seeing her, choosing to be present. And I had failed, not through malice, not through neglect of duty, but through laziness, comfort, complacency. I began to understand the true meaning of what she had said. We wasted so much time being right instead of being close. For decades, I had believed love was stability, love was reliability, love was keeping the house in order, paying bills, showing up when it mattered, but Margaret had wanted something else. She wanted connection, presence, engagement. She wanted me to care about what mattered to her, not just what mattered to me. I remember a quiet evening, 3 months after she had gone. I was sitting in the living room, the soft twilight spilling through the curtains, and I realized how much I had missed. Not just her presence, but the chance to truly know her, to be her partner in every sense of the word, not just in the practicalities of life. I thought about the Scotland trip again. It would have cost little, maybe a week of time, some money, but it would have meant everything to her. It would have meant that I saw her, that I wanted to share her dreams, and I had never said yes, not once. I began to see how many moments I had overlooked. Her gentle suggestions to take up painting, to try new recipes together, to spend an evening talking instead of watching the television. Every not now had quietly chipped away at the intimacy we had once shared, and slowly, invisibly, I had lost the person I loved most. I spoke to friends about her, about us, about the life we had shared, Many would tell me I had been a good husband, they meant well, but they were wrong. I was adequate. I had not betrayed her, not abused her, not abandoned her, but I had not engaged. I had not been fully present, and that is the quiet heartbreak that lingers longer than any tragedy. For weeks, I read through Margaret's letters, her notes, her small lists of things she wanted to do, and I began to feel her getting me still, even after she was gone. She wanted me to understand that love is not something static. It is a living practice, a daily choice, and I had ignored it for far too long. One morning, I found myself in the kitchen, holding a cup of coffee she would have made for me, and I realized that the simplest acts, making breakfast together, walking in the park, listening to her day, were the acts I had undervalued the most. It was here, in the silence of her absence, that I truly understood. Her last words haunted me daily, being right instead of being close. I thought about all the times I had insisted on my point of view, defended my routines, prioritized my comfort over her happiness. I thought about the arguments I had shrugged off, the times I had ignored her subtle requests for connection, and I knew that love is not passive. It cannot survive without attention, without intention. I began to make changes in my life, even as a widower. I reached out to old friends, reconnected with family, tried to engage with people in ways I had long neglected. I wanted to honor Margaret's memory by truly living the lessons she had quietly left for me. I also started journaling, writing down reflections, memories, regrets, and small acts of kindness I could still offer to the world around me. It became a way to reconnect with the part of myself that had been absent from our marriage, the part of myself that Margaret had always wanted to see alive and engaged. Slowly, I began to see the difference between comfort and connection. Comfort is easy, passive. Connection is active, demanding, and sometimes uncomfortable. It requires vulnerability. It requires curiosity. It requires the willingness to engage every single day, no matter how tired or distracted you feel. And I realized that Margaret had been offering me a roadmap all along. Her suggestions, her dreams, her quiet nudges toward shared experiences were invitations to engage, to care, to participate fully in a life together. I had ignored them, not because I didn't love her, but because I didn't understand that love is a practice, not a state. Years later, I still think about the Scotland trip, about pottery classes, about evening walks, about long, meandering conversations that never happened. Each memory is a reminder that life is fragile, that time is fleeting, and that the smallest choices matter the most. I began to speak to couples, to share my story. I wanted others to understand that the danger in relationships is not betrayal, not dramatic fights, but indifference, the slow erosion of intimacy caused by neglecting the everyday acts of love. I tell them, ask your partner about their dreams. Listen, really listen. Engage, share experiences, even when inconvenient. Choose closeness over being right. Choose presence over ease. Because one day, as I did, you may find that the person you love most is gone, and all the opportunities to truly connect have vanished. Margaret left behind a photograph of our honeymoon in 1975. She is laughing, the sun catching her hair, her eyes full of hope. I keep it on my desk as a reminder of what she saw in me, of what I failed to give her fully, and of the lessons I still carry. Her voice, her life, her love, they guide me still. I try now to honor her memory in every relationship I have, in every conversation, in every act of connection. Because love is not passive. It requires intention, presence, and care every single day. I am Oliver Whitman, and this is my story. A story of love lost to complacency, of lessons learned too late, and of hope that others can avoid the same mistakes. Love the people in your life actively, intentionally, while you still can. Don't wait, don't assume, don't postpone. Choose closeness over being right, be present, be engaged, and above all, love fully. Because one day, like me, you may look back and realize the true cost of taking someone for granted, and you'll wish you had spent those small, quiet moments building something enduring, instead of simply being comfortable.